susret.
Well, it's a beacon of hope for the world. How I explain it is like if you went to a place like Chernobyl, Russia, and radiation, you didn't believe in radiation from the nuclear reactor that exploded, and because you only believe what you see, I say, well, give yourself 3 days, your hair will start falling out. Medjugorie is a place where a good radiation comes from heaven, that even though you might not understand the Catholic Church or the faith, something magical goes on with your soul. First, Medjugorie came to me. I was doing the movie The Count of Monte Cristo in Ireland. We were having problems with the script. I felt like it was going to be a movie that wasn't going to be very good, and in my business, one bad film, you're over. My wife went to Medjugorie for the first time. I called her and told her that the film had taken a bad turn and it wasn't looking good, and she said, well, the visionary from Medjugorie, Ivan Dragicevic, is coming to Ireland. I said, how will I go to an apparition? I have no time off. I work Saturdays, Sundays, and all week long. There's going to be no time to go and to this apparition. I'll give you a backstory of what I knew about Medjugorie. In 1981, when we were told that this phenomena was happening here, we were told by our bishop that it was false. So I was working on a Thursday afternoon, and Richard Harris, the man in the film who plays the priest, got sick, and so I ended up going to this apparition. To tell you the truth, I thought this was kind of weird. When I got to the church, at the time I didn't have any, if people want to believe in this stuff, that's fine for them, but in my opinion, it was no requirement from the church. So I went there because my wife was desperate to get me to go and felt that it would really more than turn the course for the film, which I just did it for her. I watched the apparition take place, and I happened to be sitting on the right side of the church where there was no place to... I was amazed that everybody in the church, it was so jam-packed that people were standing up in rows, and the area I came into was a place where you had cripples, people in wheelchairs. And I think the first miracle for me, and interesting how God works, where we think what's going to happen, and something profoundly is so simple and yet powerful. The people were in their wheelchairs, and when the Blessed Virgin Mary supposedly came into the room, the people in crippled wheelchairs got out of their wheelchairs to get on their knees, and it shamed me because I didn't have that kind of faith. The apparition ended, and Ivan looked right over to me, and I was next to my wife, and it was like Moses parting the Red Sea. There were so many people jammed together, and they came around him like he was a prophet. And as he walked over, the Red Sea parted, and he came to me, and he said, I'd like to see you. In broken English, he said, I'd like to see you on Sunday at the apparition. And I'll see what I can do, because at the time I was on Disney's schedule. I went to the house of Phil Ryan, who brings people here. At the time, we just met that day, and turned out to be a great friendship. But in their home, Ivan was sitting in a sofa. I walked in the room, and he said, ask me your questions. And I began to ask him, does the Virgin Mary beam down like Star Trek, or what? I mean, this is not I believed in Fatima, I believed in Lourdes, but again, because of a few individuals, they kind of set the standard of what we, should or shouldn't believe, and so I was left there looking at this guy going, I remember thinking, this is just, I want to believe, but it just doesn't seem possible. Yvonne asked me, would you like to kneel next to me when she comes in the room? And I said, yeah, I do. I would like to. And so when she supposedly came into the room, I didn't know what to expect, but I looked up at him and I could see as an actor, I'm looking at him and he was gazing. And I saw he's got to be a pretty good actor to pull this one off. And he was smiling and laughing a little bit. And then I went with it and I said, so Virgin Mary, is he laughing? Are you laughing at me? Or what is this a joke? And I basically said to her, if you're there, let me know. I have nothing not to believe in this, but it is quite hard to believe. And I asked for a miracle on the movie. I said, we're in, it looks like it's going to be a bad film, and I need your help if you're there. And suddenly, it was as if I felt a smile on my soul, like someone was touching my heart, but in the most beautiful way, a piece of heaven, just something. And that was something that began the tears in my eyes. I said something like, you said if I knew how much Mary loved me that I would cry for joy. I said, I don't know how many times I've asked God into my life and I've felt absolutely nothing. I said, is she in this room? He said, yes. I said, apparition's over, but she's here, she's always with us. And I said, well, then you tell her to come into my heart. And he said, she can't do that. And I said, why not? He said, only God can. He said, she's here to bring you her son. And he said, Jim, man always makes, he says, if you met a man and he was very wealthy and he made so much money, he had no time for anything but his work to make more money. If this man met a woman who was so beautiful and he fell in love, would he make time for her? And I said, of course, because he loves this woman, he will absolutely make time for her. He says, this is correct. He said, the reason man does not make time for God is because he doesn't love him. The director, who is he's agnostic, he doesn't believe in, he's not saying there is no God, but he has his questions. But we were shooting in a mansion in Malta, and the paintings in this mansion were, there were no religious paintings, let me just say, more Greek and Roman paintings. And he was looking for something where this is a critical part in the film where the character I'm playing, the Count of Monte Cristo, is deciding whether to go with the love of his life or seek revenge. And above the bed is just white plaster. There is no painting. But he said, I found something about 10 rooms down. In this, again, this is a big mansion, but I found only one image. And it was probably a baby room when they first built this place for their baby. And on the ceiling was the Blessed Virgin Mary, the Immaculate Conception. And he put that image on the ceiling. It's in the film. And I was shocked because I said, do you know what that is? He goes, yeah. But he didn't know really what it meant to me that Our Lady was in the film, and it was a sign for me that her hand was on my career, on my life. And I was proud to say that I shared some screen time with the Blessed Virgin Mary. At that point, I felt a pull. Something was coming, something big. I could feel it. It was something from the moment she smiled on me to that point that I was called to do something that was coming, and I didn't know what it was yet. Then Mel Gibson wanted to meet with me. Well, I got a phone call from Steve Caviezel, the producer for Mel Gibson's Icon, and he was meeting with me on a script they were developing with Tom Hanks called Mavericks. The script I read was not very good, and I thought it was beneath Mel Gibson to do it at this level. So I wanted to talk to them about making the script better. We met at a picnic table, and Mel Gibson wasn't supposed to be there, and then about 40 minutes into the meeting, he shows up. At some point, when he sat down, I don't recollect what it was, but he made some remark about Jesus movies, and I'm thinking, what does that have to do with surfing? And I was thinking like Jesus on a surfboard, and then I realized that my heart started to get very hot, burning, a sensation, and I said, my God, you want me to play Jesus, don't you? That's what this is about. And he almost swallowed his cigarette, looked down, and he said yes. So I said yes, and 2 days later he called me at home. He tried to talk me out of doing the movie. And he said, if you do this, you may never work in this town again. I want to be responsible for you losing your career, Jim. I was scared in my heart. I was silent. Then I could hear him in the other room, or in the where he was calling me from. I could tell Steve Caviezel was in the room with him. I could tell he put his hand over the phone. I could hear in a muffled sound, I got him. He's not going to do the movie. St. Paul says, God will give you the words to speak, and they were there. I felt a great presence, peace come over me, and words that never came from me but from above. I said to Mel, Mel Gibson, we are all called to carry our cross. If you don't pick up your cross and carry it, you will be crushed by the weight of it. And then I said, oh my God. He said, what? I said, I just realized my initials are JC and I'm 33 years old. And he said, God, you're freaking me out. And he hung up the phone. On to make this movie, it would be one of the biggest box office films in movie history. It is still the #1 R-rated film of all time, even 15 years later. And, wherever I walk, people say, well, there goes, some say Jim Caviezel, some used to say the Count of Monte Cristo, but most say there goes Jesus. And sometimes that's good, but many times it's very bad, because people don't think too kindly of him. It's like you become a walking stigmata. You become now I know what it's like for a priest who's hated for wearing his collar. I can't take my collar off. It is on there. It's a brand all over me, but I am fortunate because when you look at the careers of many actors in the world now who are collaborating with evil, who are making films that have no redemption, nothing. I got to be a part of something that will last forever. When you ask me about the messages, the moment I read them, I know my shepherd's voice, and I know my mother's voice. And when I hear it, I say, that's them. And what a gift in this time that we have. More than any technology, more than the satellites, more than Hollywood, more than all of those things, that God from heaven is speaking to us now in this time. And many people are throwing away this grace. I think when I looked after the Passion, when I look at my life, and when Catholics come up to me and say, you know, that movie you did, it was weird. Catholics, they go to Mass. I said, it's become a sanitized faith. No cross, no suffering, happy Jesus. All happy Jesus now. No suffering. I'm amazed at how many people don't look at Jesus and go, what a warrior, what a brave stud, what an awesome God, to show us how much he would do anything for us, that he would love us that much. But I can tell those people, and these are just people that are Catholics, without Medjugorje, there would not be the Passion of the Christ. And without Medjugorje, I'm talking about the Blessed Mother, this world already would be gone. There would be no place to celebrate. There would be no place to sleep. There would be no rest. It is a blessing, but we're leaving this time of grace and mercy, and we're going into a place of darkness. I mean, how do I know that? In the same way I know that I'm supposed to marry this woman, my wife Carrie, or whether or not to have children, or whether or not to become an actor, or whether or not to do the Passion of the Christ. I can feel it. And until people turn their lives back to God, it would be nice for them to do it during this time of grace. But I'm afraid many people will turn back, but only when they see darkness that is brought in not by the devil, but by God himself. And it's troubling to me. But if you look at the scriptures, you'll see, who are you in the story of the Bible? Are you, John? Are you Andrew? Are you, some people say, well, I get to say I'm Jesus, huh? But, some of us are Herod. Some of us are Judas. Some of us are the Pharisees. You see, it's how we live our lives right now. And that is going to be everything, that when we die, when we go to that beautiful God in heaven, what will we give him? What will we offer him? Thank God I have something, because at that time, before I met Ivan, I didn't have much to offer him. But I took the grace that was given to me. And we have to be open to that grace. And that includes people in Medjugorje who live with us every day. I think it's even harder for you guys here, because it's just right there. You have Disney, you have spiritual Disneyland here, right here in this little world. And sometimes you don't take advantage of it. You see that this is normal. It's not. I see where the future is coming. And if I would be a fool to put my trust in things that are going to be removed from me soon. So I can only speak for myself, but the truth is all we have. I think it's much harder for people who are on their yachts and boats, and they have so many things. The more things you have to protect them. I'm reminded of the words that Pope John Paul used when he came to our country, and he said, "Set yourself apart from this corrupt generation. Be a saint. You weren't made to fit in. You were born to stand out." Well, one of the things I did when I met Ivan Jukisevich is I told him, I said, look, this isn't my career anymore. This is God's career. This is Our Lady. Let's make God happy with the projects I pick. That doesn't mean the roles I play will always be a good guy. I've played some bad guys, some very, very bad guys. But the story has great redemption in it. In other words, I don't always have to play the good guy. Somebody's got to play the devil, but it better be a darn good one. The next film that it's already been talked about in the media, on print, but not on television. is the resurrection of the Christ. Mel Gibson is writing the script right now with Randall Wallace, who wrote Braveheart. And they have not officially come to me and offered me the role of Jesus, but I figured as much that if I was going to do it anyway, I have to come back to Medjugorie and start where the other movie started, which was in Medjugorie. Remember I said, no Medjugorie, no Passion of the Christ. So I have to take advantage. If the world doesn't, I'm certainly going to come here again and begin the process of, if I am going to play Jesus, I have to get right with the sacraments. I have to get right with my life. I have to make my life straight. And people who are Catholic or Christian, or people that are looking to find a way, because the world is in such darkness, suicides, everything that we can imagine, this film will be so powerful because it will be with the Eucharist. It will be in confession. I want to thank Father Caviezel and Father Sudats for their holy masses for this film. I'd also recommend ask in any other priests, the Franciscans, the diocesan priests, for their masses for this movie. I ask the citizens for their rosaries and prayers, and to talk to other people around the world and family to pray for this. I mean, look, I cannot play Jesus without Jesus playing me. There's no magic thing about it. The Eucharist I took every day in my body, and my DNA linked up to God's. And every day while I was playing Jesus, I went to confession. I then prayed the rosary all day long. I had relics all over my robes from great saints, and I asked them for their help. St. Genesius, the patron saint, I went to Pope John Paul, and he told me I needed to go to the grave of Genesius. And then the last thing was, during the Last Supper, I went to the Catholic priest that we had, and he was a little baffled when I asked him this, but I said, will you get the host and expose it? He says, I cannot do that. People have to be in prayer. And I said, trust me, I'll be in prayer. So during the Last Supper, next to the movie camera, and in the reflection of my eye in the film, there is the exposed host. And in my eye, in my reflection, as I'm looking out to the world, the reflection of the Eucharist is in my eye from a priest next to the camera. So I always like to say that when people see the movie, they say, I saw Jesus. I said, you literally were seeing Jesus. Your name may not appear down here in this world's Hall of Fame. You may be so unknown that no one knows your name. The Oscars and the praise of men may never come your way, but don't forget, God has rewards that he'll hand out someday. Crowd on earth, they will soon forget when you're not at the top. They will cheer like mad until you fall, and then their praise will stop. But God, he never does forget his Hall of Fame. By just believing on his Son, forever there's your name. I tell you, my friend, I wouldn't trade my name, however small. It's written there beyond the stars in that celestial hall. For all the names on earth, or the glory that they share, I'd rather be an unknown here and have my name up there. God bless you.